Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar Fireside Chat. Fireside Chat, Growing Your Business with a Marketer. You're right on time. We're just welcoming everyone, and we haven't started yet, but we're glad you're here. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and made available to the public. Previous webinars are also available on our website. We will share the link with you in the follow-up email. I wanted to also mention that we do have an interpreter on today. My name is Fern Sabo. I'll be your facilitator today. And I'm the founder of Spring Creative and a WeBC regional ambassador for the West Kootenays. I am coming from the traditional unceded territory of the Sinixt, Salish, and Ktunaxa people. I invite you to write in the chat on whose traditional territories are you joining us from. We'd love to hear from you if there's a topic you would like to consider for future webinars. Please tell us the topic in the feedback poll at the end of the session. I wanted to mention that we will be having a Q&A at the end of this session, so be sure to use the chat. We also have the Q&A button at the bottom of your toolbar for Zoom, so you're welcome to use that as well. What we offer. We provide support for your small business journey. We offer financing to get businesses started and operating capital to fuel growth. We offer more flexibility than traditional lenders because we take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business viability, not based on formulas. This means we provide loans to a diverse range of women-owned businesses and support you with integrated services, including complimentary training, mentoring, and advising. From essential business skills development to personalized business advice, we know the right questions to ask and the right resources to connect you with. In our mentoring programs, you can connect with a network of women entrepreneurs and experts around BC who can support and inspire you. You can learn more about our services at we-bc.ca and sign up for our e-blasts to get notified of new programs as we have a ton of great offerings coming up. If I just had a bigger budget to hire a marketer and get the word out, I could grow my business. Does this sound like you? Maybe you've hired a marketer in the past and didn't get the results you expected. Or maybe you're thinking about investing more in your marketing and want to make the most of it. A strong brand is the sum of all touch points with your customer. It may include those flashy campaigns, but there are many other factors you should consider. Taking the time to do the groundwork will help you get better results. Today, we're hosting a fireside chat with experienced marketing professionals who will give you a glimpse of how marketers think, so you can improve your marketing or give a stronger brief to a marketing firm. Please welcome Victoria Levy, VP of Client Services, Talk Shop, Kira Kelsey, owner of Chasm Consulting, and Allison Gorley Kramer, principal and founder of Monogram Communications. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm very excited to be here and help talk about marketing.
We're so glad to have you. Well, now that we are completed our introduction, I want to just hop right in with some great questions and hear from this amazing panel that we have today. So to start off, could you ladies give us a brief introduction of yourselves and your businesses, please?
You bet. I'm happy to go first. So nice to meet everyone. My name is Victoria Levy, and I'm a VP of Client Services at TalkShop. So we are a Vancouver-based communications agency, and we work on anything that touches communications and marketing for businesses across Canada. We have a team of about 65 people with offices in Vancouver, Kelowna, Victoria, Toronto, and now an office in LA. And in terms of industries that we work with, we follow the Canadian economy. So we work a lot in real estate, lifestyle, technology, nonprofit, and we specialize in public relations, which is media relations, storytelling, thought leadership. And what we help to do, businesses to do, is help them to get known and be understood, is what we say.
Wonderful. Thank you, Victoria. Kira, do you want to go next?
Sure. So hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. As Fern introduced, my name is Kira Kelsey. I am the owner and operator of Chasm Consulting, and we specialize in helping businesses grow and scale with marketing by identifying and filling the gaps in your marketing needs. So some fun facts about Chasm, and it's Chasm with a K. And if you can't remember, it's Kira Kelsey. That's where the K's come from. But some fun facts about my business is that we were listed in the top 10 digital marketing agencies to work with in Canada on Yahoo Finance. And we also ranked in the top 30 digital marketing agencies to work with for startups worldwide. And then a fun fact about me personally is that I'm one of the only certified digital marketing experts in Western Canada. So I'm very excited to be here today and share my expertise with you all on this amazing panel.
What a team. Thank you, Kira. Allison?
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. I am based on the traditional territory of the Kootenays in northern BC. I own a small boutique firm that is rapidly growing. We have team members from across Canada. So we have about 20 team members if we were to include all of our creatives from Toronto, Alberta, and then across BC. We've been fortunate to have won multiple awards for our work through the Canadian Public Relations Society over the past couple of years. And we'll be celebrating the end of our 4th year at the end of this month. So it's pretty exciting. We are entirely online, a distributed team that includes senior and junior communications professionals. And then we do have an extended team of creatives, so web developers, photographers, and graphic designers. We do a lot of work from crisis communications and issues management to brand and web and major campaigns. So it's a lot of fun. It's very creative. And we work with folks all across Canada, including industry, nonprofit, and post-secondary and sport. That's some of our sectors that we work in.
Thank you, Allison. Well, what an amazing powerhouse team of incredible women we have here today. I'm so excited to dive into some questions and really get the conversation going. Thank you, ladies, for sharing a bit about your backgrounds and your businesses. Okay, well, let's get started with our first question here that involves the industry specifically. And please just jump in. Whoever feels like sharing first, I invite you to just have an open conversation. So can you outline the typical best practices involved in partnering with a marketing agency?
The first thing I would say is just transparency. So that's one of the core values here at Chasm, but transparency is really important, and that's with everything. Budget, timeline, goals, communication expectations. I always say the only difference between a happy person in general and an unhappy person is expectations. So just being really clear with what your goals are, and try and define before you approach a marketing agency or a PR firm what success looks like for you, so that both people know how and where we want to move the needle.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We sit with our clients for a really in-depth discovery meeting every time. The name Monogram Communications comes from really that personalized service that we offer. And so we sit for at least an hour just to get to know our clients and really try and understand what their goals and audience are. We talked a little bit about integrated marketing comms, and that's what we do at Monogram. So if you don't have a large paid advertising budget, we can also look at using other creative methods to get your messaging out there, including public relations, brand champions or influencers, web updates, even pitches to media, even things like sponsoring local events or showing up at local events. There's lots of ways that you can lean into communicating what your brand and business does. And but it really is that first step of getting that understanding from you of what your budget is, who your audience is, and where you'd like to show up.
And I think I agree with both of you, Kira and Allison. And the only piece that I would add to that is really making sure to spend enough time on the education piece. For folks that are new to marketing or any of the services within marketing, there can be so many buzzwords. So I think that it's really taking time to meet people where they're at and have that time, whether it's within the discovery or even a separate meeting, of really having a solid understanding of what those services are. So for example, I work in public relations, and a lot of what we do is earned media. So I'll oftentimes pull out a newspaper with a client and say, see this? This here is a paid advertisement. See this article here that's written by a journalist that has a voice of commentary. That is not paid. That's what we call earned media. So it's our team engaging with a journalist to have a story told. And we really take time, or like Allison said, doing sponsored content, pulling up a piece of sponsored content and explaining, see here at the bottom where it says sponsored, that cost about $4,000 to have that place. So really just that education piece of around what are the different services that could support you with your goals, and taking time to know if you're talking to somebody that's brand new to this space or somebody that's worked with marketing agencies for 20 years and they're like, nope, we can skip that, move right along. But just that point that everyone's coming from a different perspective. So taking time to understand people's baseline knowledge level.
Well, that was all really great answers. Very well said, ladies. How interesting to hear your different perspectives. And I like what you're sharing around just really taking the time and knowing that there's a lot that goes into figuring out a marketing puzzle. In your experience, when is the optimal time for a company to explore working with a marketing agency? And what factors should be considered?
I really found this question fascinating because I do think it depends on the business. And to give some background, I started Monogram Communications as a solo proprietor, solopreneur, if you will. And my marketing strategy was solely based on my own personal networking. And it took until my company grew to about 5 or 6 team members when I no longer could rely on my own reputation to acquire new business, if that makes sense. So it really depends on what your business is. If your business is a product versus a service that you're standing behind personally, I would recommend that you would investigate traditional marketing right from the get-go, but I'd love to hear from Kira and Victoria. When it relies more on yourself, your personal reputation, and a service that is dependent on your reputation, I would ensure that things like your LinkedIn account, where you're going, types of conferences you're attending, speaking opportunities such as this, that you actually make time in your calendar to show up and enable your team to also show up if you want them to support that brand and the face of your company going forward.
Yeah, Allison, I think that's such a great point, is the fact that there's what I call sometimes low-hanging fruit, or the nicer positioning of that is quick wins. So yeah, is your LinkedIn up to date? Are you posting on your social media? Are you showing up in your community? And once you've achieved that baseline, then it goes back to the piece of what we talked about before around transparency, around budget, or what are your business goals? But it's like achieving that baseline and then taking it to the next level of engaging in some paid marketing tactics. I have to think to that piece too of just answering very simply is, I work a lot in the real estate sector. If I'm helping a developer to launch a project, about 3 months out, we're using PR tactics to support the marketing campaign. If I'm working with somebody in the tech space, it depends if they're doing a fundraising round. We want to do some PR a couple of months before that to start getting thought leadership and stories and brand awareness. So it really depends what kind of client you are. And this feeds into one of the other questions about choosing the right partner, is that you're going to generally try to find people to work with that are honest and your values align there. So oftentimes I'll say to folks, we would love to work with you. Come back to me in 6 months. So, the more that your partner knows about you and your business and what you're trying to achieve, they're going to give you a recommendation on the right time to partner.
Yeah, so just to kind of touch on that. So Chasm is named Chasm because we fill the gaps in your marketing needs. I would say about 7 out of 10 times I meet with entrepreneurs and they say, for example, okay, I want to run some ads. And I'm like, fantastic, tell me more. Why did you want to run ads? And then by the time we actually get to working on the project, there's so many foundational things that need to be set up before the ads. I'm sure you other ladies as well, like you don't just take projects just to take them. We have 3 pillars. We don't even do packages at Chasm because it doesn't move the needle enough. So our pillars are marketing strategy, digital marketing and advertising, and online optimization. And all that means is just creating a seamless experience for customers. So figuring out what type of engagement you want to have and why you want to have it is really important. But I would be wary of marketers, agencies, consultants who just say yes to anything that you propose or promise you the world, right? Like you want to say, okay, let's look at where you're currently at, build it so that we can do the things that you want to do first. Because we have the in-depth knowledge that we should be able to diagnose that for you and help you through it. Kind of adding on Victoria's point.
Mm-hmm. Well, great answers. I like that seamless experience that you shared, just how that all works for each business is going to be going to need a different set of strategies. And I guess that leads into our next question, which is when a business does choose to work with a marketing agency, what are the key benefits they typically derive from such a partnership?
I'm going to come in with a potentially hot take here. I think the key benefits should be whatever the business's objective is. So it's not necessarily for us to tell you how to run your business. It's for you to say, okay, this is where I want to be. And then it's for us to come in and say, okay, here's how we can help get you there.
Yeah, it's using communications as a tactic to help you achieve your business goals. And I mean, I go back to this line that I say about Talk Shop, but we're helping you to get known and be understood. If you have a business and people say, what's that? What do you do? Who are you? It's helping to fill those gaps in the marketplace so that people say, oh, I know about you. I read that article about you in the paper the other day, or, oh yeah, I saw you on the news commenting on this topic. So that's, and I mean, we can get into what success looks like and how you measure that. But at the very simple level, it's that people know what you're doing, what you're about, and what you stand for.
Mm-hmm. And I would add back to this topic of education and learning as you're growing. When we start working with businesses, we don't expect you to know marketing. We know that you're experts in the business that you've started. And so it can be a bit of a leap, and definitely trust and a leap of faith in the group or the agency that you're working with. But I think one of the key benefits is that you will learn, you will grow, and you will be able to lean on the consultant or the firm that you decide to work with. They will support you. And, as Kira mentioned, be a little wary of a group that just says yes. We used to talk a lot in communications about everybody wanting a poster. And I always talk about everyone wanting social media. Well, that's not always the best tactic for your business. So if you have an opportunity to sit with someone and listen, the other key benefit you're really going to get from this is just learning what works best for your company.
Oh, wonderful responses there, ladies. I just feel like we're really digging in deep now and peeling the layers of the onion back here. So what criteria should a woman entrepreneur use to evaluate and select the right marketing agency for their needs then?
So I don't know that it's specific to women entrepreneurs. I think, women are just as powerful as men. So that differentiation, I'm not necessarily going to speak to, but factors that you should be looking into, I would recommend are level of expertise, the scope of the project, the nature and the size of your business. So if you are a 50 to 100 size business, you're going to need a bigger budget than maybe a 1 to 2 person because you have more capacity, right? And then the impact of the service. So how much is this going to impact your business, and how can marketing feed that so that your revenue makes more than what your spend is?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm going to add on to that and say values alignment. When you're looking to work with a new partner, making sure that your values are in line. At TalkShop, we have 4 values. It is to be business minded, to get it, meaning that things just click quickly and you're staying on top of it, to seek equity and show up as an equitable partner. And we make sure to have conversations about that. How do you show up? Are you a solution seeker? Do you work in similar ways? And you can only do that by getting to know who your potential partner is. So like Allison said around that discovery call, that time is so important, or meeting the team that that's going to be servicing the work that's happening. So not just the person that's bringing in the business, but the people that are sitting around the table that are going to be working on it, making sure that that you get each other. And that sometimes is a gut feeling. And I think too of the woman piece, where I absolutely agree with Kira in terms of, women-owned businesses, men-owned businesses are equally as successful, important, or whatnot. But the piece of that, and I can say, TalkShop, we're a female-owned and run business with a mostly female team, and we get really excited by women entrepreneurs that are showing up in the marketplace in different ways. So certainly, I can tell you right now, we're working with a young woman leader in the real estate space that's working in preserving the rental market in British Columbia and making sure that rental homes are preserved. This is a woman who's in her early 30s. She's so passionate, and our team is so excited to support her because, put simply, she's a young woman who's kicking ass. And it's like, oh yeah, we want to help this woman with what she's doing because she's so smart and doing the work that she's doing for all the right reasons. So we want to show up for her and help her move the needle on her objectives.
I love that, Victoria, and I'm excited. I want to learn more about who this woman is. One other thing I would just add to that is, if you're working with a firm or have the opportunity to work with a firm that might have sector specifications or geographic expertise. So again, at Monogram, we're really honored to have 47% of our clientele now Indigenous. And so while I'm not personally Indigenous, we have members of our team who are. We have partnerships with Indigenous nations to support their communications teams. And so there's a lot of learning in that. I would also say because we have Monogram team members within different communities, we're able to really get a good sense of what the pulse is if you're looking to make an impression within a community. So I find it really interesting that the three of us have national expertise, but at the same time, if you are able to find a marketing team that is sector specific or geographically connected, that can really move the needle on how you show up within those spaces. And so again, we aren't really heavy in tech. We had a client who wanted to work with us, but we just knew we couldn't do great work with him because he wanted to go global with some of his PR. So we brought on a team that was heavy in the UK because that's where they were looking to expand. So again, back again to what Kira said, work with people who know you, who want to see your success, and will put you in touch with the people that can help you grow.
I think that's such a critical point, is that you know that you're working with a good partner whose ethics are in line. If they say, you know what, we're not the right team to help you with this, let me make a recommendation, and they don't try to just make it work. They say, I'm not the right person for you, but I have someone that is going to work with you.
And all of us are, experienced women too, right? So we should, in theory, have a network or a connection that we can reach out to benefit you.
Mm.
So never be afraid to ask for that as well too.
Yeah, great, great perspectives there. It does a lot of the time come down to geography, to who your audience is. How are you wanting to connect with them? And it feels like you really started to touch into those perspectives for sure. And yeah, I feel like the more quality work that's being done, the more strategy that's going into place, the more that the right solutions can come forward depending on the business needs. Great. Okay, so here's another question that we have. How do you think that women entrepreneurs can maximize the effectiveness of their collaboration with a marketing agency?
I think being really transparent about process off the top, like some clients, and this is a very simple example, so not really big picture, but some clients, we do a bi-weekly Zoom call. Some clients want to meet once a month for a coffee. Some clients say, don't email me, text me. So I think when you're working with an agency, and I know without discussing this with Kira and Allison, that you probably work with all of your clients in different ways. That is the beauty of working with a partner, is that they know how to adapt to you. So finding out ways that you work well with each other. And I think that's always a conversation that we have at the end of the discovery call is, okay, when we talk next steps, how do you want to work? And really making it, making it work for you, and a partner that can show up, and of course you need to connect and communicate and get the job done and all those things, but there's flexibility in this way that we work nowadays. We're all on a Zoom call in different places around the province. You can kind of make anything work.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with everything that Victoria is saying. We do the same. We really adapt. And it is about what ways do people want to communicate and how, in order to move the needle along in terms of their business project. We're also really transparent about key dates and deadlines for our team, but also for the client. So I've been a client many times, and now I'm on the agency side. And I know that there are many times when I brought in an agency for support because I can't get to the work. And sometimes that means I will be delayed on even providing my agency team with what they need from me. So something I always say to my team is, you never want the client to contact you before you contact them. That is my number one golden rule. So if you haven't heard from the client, just quick touch base. But back to this really clear process of when they should expect to hear from you, that's when they should. And even if you have nothing to share, just a quick update that we're here, we're still working on it. That's the reassurance they need to keep the needle moving on going forward.
Something that I want to touch on, and great points, ladies, is think about what structure you are working or your contract is within. So there's 3 different structures you can kind of work with agencies or consultants with. So number 1 is an hourly rate. I would honestly advise against this unless you love working with lawyers, because that's how they work. And then so it's really easy to rack up a bill. And honestly, I don't love doing that for clients. I like to find a way to move the needle without, pocket pinching. That's not very fun for me. Number 2, there's like a flat or a project rate. So it's based on a deliverable. So that would be when you're like, okay, I just need a marketing strategy. Perfect. That's a project, right? It has a beginning and an end. Or the third option is a monthly retainer. I typically work under this in Chasm because I do everything from the strategy through to the implementation, optimization, tracking, analytics, all that stuff. So when it's a monthly retainer, I try and set up weekly meetings so that you always know how and what we are doing to move the needle for your business. Like Allison said, just sending updates, right? So sometimes people say that's, I don't want to meet that much, but I always, whether or not they want the meeting, I always schedule that time in my calendar to provide those updates. So thinking about what type of scope you're working within can also be really helpful for the expectation setting.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up those 3 models, Kira. I think I always lean into the communications part just because that's maybe my strength, but it's so true. You really want to know, how are you being billed? When are you going to be billed? Keep your agency on a schedule that works for you in terms of communications and updates. And yeah, great points. I'm so glad you brought up that schedule way of working.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 3 main ways that you can work with a marketing agency: hourly rate, project rate, or retainer. And it might look different for everyone, but those are the key ways to engage.
Fern,
Go
if I
ahead,
can
Victoria.
add to that, you struck on something when you said project, is that for a lot of teams that, let's say you're a small business and you have a junior communications person or a junior social media person, and that's what works for your business plan. A lot of the ways that we'll be plugged in is that because we have senior level expertise, is that we'll come in and do a project fee and do a strategy. So let's say we do a social media strategy and we bring the junior social media person up to speed on running it, and then they go out there and execute the strategy, but then they have a senior person to lean on for their expertise. And I just want to make that flag for a lot of smaller businesses that maybe don't necessarily have the budget to have a senior person on their team, is that they'll bring in an agency for that project support and to lean in when they encounter a challenge. But for the day-to-day, they have a team member that can run it, and really it's great because they're building that team member's capacity and helping them to grow, but not needing to have a senior person on the team necessarily.
And one more thing, if I could add, don't be afraid to ask, how are things going? Where are things going? How is this supposed to go? You might be a little bit intimidated at the beginning to ask those questions, but we just have a really standard slide, depending on the project that you're working on with us, that gives you an understanding of the steps to get from A to Z with regards to a website project, for example, or a communication strategy. So don't be afraid to say, this isn't really going how I thought it was going to go. Can we sit together and review what we were planning on doing? And if you can't get those things clearly on paper for yourself, then do, because it'll really help you move through the project with your team.
Great point, Allison, for sure. And and Victoria bringing those components in. I really appreciate your perspectives on. I'm sure everyone here is just getting so much value out of what you're sharing. Are there any common pitfalls that you feel like women face when working with marketing agencies, and how they can possibly be mitigated?
I think I'm just going to expand on my last point, and that is that when you go into discussions with a group or an agency or a consultant, do a bit of your own homework first. Really ensure what you're bringing to the meeting is a great understanding of your business and what you're trying to accomplish. But try not to lose yourself in language you don't understand, and really bring it back to plain language and clarity. And don't be afraid just to admit, I don't quite understand what maybe SEO is going to do for my business, or can you explain more, or can you demonstrate to me a little bit more? I loved Victoria's explanation of like literally showing examples. We often have clients bring us examples of brands they love, websites they love, strategies they think are inspiring. And I I often compare it to a hair color. Like you could go to a hairdresser and say, I want blonde, and come back with caramel. I don't know, but we all speak in different languages. Some of us are visual thinkers and some of us are very plain language speakers. So providing examples, I think, is also very helpful.
Absolutely, yeah. Kira, do you have some thoughts on that?
I don't know. Common challenges, if I'm being honest, because I don't run into those. I'm a very, I come with solutions, not problems. That's how I tend to approach things. So I've never really encountered a whole lot of issues in my flow and how everything runs, I have to be honest. But I, I think also, women, it's a feeling thing, right? Like Victoria, you were saying, it's a gut. Either you click or you don't. And everyone's, that's what I was kind of saying at the start, like define what success of a project is before you dive in. And good agency or a good consultant can say, okay, here's how we get there. Versus, if you come in with a task, we can definitely do that, but you might not get as much bang for your buck.
Yeah, great point, Kira, for sure. Victoria, do you encounter any common pitfalls, and how do you mitigate them?
So this is why I think it is so important to have a strategy before you begin work together. And it's really easy. And I think it was you, Kira, that said this I think it was you, but that, sometimes clients will come in and they're ready to hit the ground running on X, Y, and Z. And that's great to get that pace of work going quickly. But when you have a strategy, you're able to outline what your objectives are. And then every tactic that I do with a client, whether it's, okay, let's maximize your social media, or let's do some thought leadership, or let's do media relations, it has to meet the business objectives. Because I think sometimes, especially when you're an agency that can take many different avenues with a client, and they'll ask, oh, well, why are we doing this instead of this? Why are we updating our website instead of focusing our efforts here? When you have the strategy to point back to and say, well, here on page 4 of the strategy, we have the objectives and we want to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you're able to point to something tangible, that can help. And often, you get into those hiccups because there is that lack of understanding of why we're doing this instead of that. So I just think that's why the education piece is so important, and making sure when I present a strategy to a client, I like to spend the most amount of time on the objectives page of what are we actually setting out to do here? Because when there's alignment on that, that's how you mitigate the hiccups a couple of months down the road.
Well, that's great feedback for sure. Getting clear, getting on the same page. Yeah, makes a huge difference, definitely. I think we have time for just another question here. I should mention to the attendees that we will be having a Q&A session. We'll be leaving about 10 minutes for some Q&A. So do be thinking about the questions that you have for Victoria, Kira, and Allison. And then we'll be wrapping up at 11. But let's get into some metrics and data and benchmarks. And I know some of our panelists are very excited about this question. Okay, what metrics and benchmarks should be used to measure the success of a partnership with a marketing agency?
So we had a quick little talk about this before all you attendees hopped on. But I say, and you ladies can definitely speak to the communication side, but as a marketer, I always say that there's 3 types of marketers. There's the creatives, the ones that, make really beautiful ads and things like that. There's the strategic, high levels, these are our goals, this is how we're going to hit them. And then there's one that I lovingly call the nerd. I gravitate towards the nerd category quite a bit. I am all about tracking. I want to know where they're clicking. I want to know why they're clicking. I want to know why they're not clicking, where they fell off at, how to re-engage with them. So all of this stuff is the marketer's job. And what the client's job is to know why they want to do it. So when I was talking with the ladies before everyone hopped on, was there's a difference between business goals and marketing goals. So business goals would be, I want to see an increase in revenue by 15%. Okay. And then the marketer's job is to say, okay, great. Here's how I think we can do that. So it's okay to lean on your marketer to kind of fill the gaps in where or how you get to your business goal, but there is a difference, right? So, and metrics should depend on what your goal is, but overall, my favorite metric is return on investment, because that just makes everyone happy. And I was talking with another founder, and he said, so when I told him about the 3 different types of marketers, he said, so which one are you? And I said, I don't know. I think I'm just a thick puppy. I just love doing all of them. Like, I was like, I don't feel vindicated in my strategy or my, creatives unless the tracking backs it up. So yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' answers.
Yeah, thank you, Kira. Allison.
I believe that there are different measurables depending on your goals, back to what Kira was saying. I look at some of the work that TalkShop does, and they work with some really big brands. And so when I don't want to speak for you, Victoria, but when I think about the investment that a group makes in long-term PR, they know that they're committing to that, and it's not a quick win. So you, again, and I'll let you speak to that, Victoria, because I think that that's a real art. When we work with certain clients, it's tough because people do want to see results right away. If you're a smaller business, you're investing a lot into this, and there are some high expectations. So I think managing expectations is really important. Some things are long-term investments, and some things you are going to see results right away. And you have to be very understanding again of what your goals are. I'll give you an example, and this is not a slight against any form of social media, because it is, of course, a tactic that we use, and we're a huge proponent of it. But there was a case study of a group that was selling raw dog food, like the raw food for dog. Yeah. And somebody that they were working with, I think one of their posts went viral, and it had, like, I don't know, 100 million views on TikTok or something. It was huge. But my question was, did that move the needle on anyone buying more dog food? And the answer was no. So it depends. Do you want awareness, or are you really looking for someone to come in the door and pick up a bag of dog food? You have to be very clear and really understand what you're investing in and where it's going to move the needle on what you want. Because my recommendation for that client would be take your money from out of social and put it towards direct mail coupons to buy more dog food. So just a case study to think about.
Okay.
Victoria, I definitely want to hear your answer, but I'm just going to quickly pop on to Allison's. You can't skip either. So you can't go right to conversion if no one's aware of you. You can't skip stages. So all of it has to work together to lead to conversion, right?
Mhm.
I'm not just going to blindly press add to cart. I need to know why I'm doing it.
Right.
So just to kind of add on there.
Yeah, great perspectives there, Kira, for sure. So Victoria, let's hear your input on this last question. Then we'll want to make sure to leave some room for a couple questions coming in from our participants.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give a macro answer to the question, depending on what tactic you have, in the strategy, you're always going to outline how you measure success and what your KPIs, your key performance indicators look like. So if it's a social campaign, how many conversions does it have? How many clicks do you want to the website? For where my area of expertise is really in that media relations, we're going to measure things like impressions. How many people looked at the newspaper article? What is the ad value? So if we were to go out and purchase an ad in the newspaper, what would that have cost compared to what you paid for a monthly PR retainer that then went out and got you that media coverage? But what I do want to focus on is, yeah, you can have those metrics and say this many people saw the article this month and whatnot. But to the piece that Allison spoke about is that when we work with clients, some short-term projects, but it is those long-term projects, and it's slowly having your foot on the gas, that it's not one article and it's done. It's, okay, we saw you in BC Business this month, and then next month you're top 40 under 40, and then the next month we saw you in the Globe and Mail, and then we saw a LinkedIn post. So it's showing up in all of these different places. And the final comment that I'll make is that, yes, you can measure things, but there's also the intangibles. So if you look at that Globe and Mail article that I popped in the chat, and I'll pop it in there again, you see a young woman's smiling face doing something amazing in the province to protect housing. And we look at housing, it's one of the most critical challenges in our province right now. And this person is doing something to protect rental housing. It's in the print of the Globe and Mail. You see her face and this amazing article. How do you almost put a value on that? Like, it's, to me, that's almost an intangible that, sure, I can tell you what it would have cost to purchase an ad in the Globe and Mail. Maybe it's somewhere around $20,000, but it's like that feeling in here that it's like, wow, this is really impactful. And it's a story that helps people understand what the work is that's being done. So it's the tangibles and those KPIs, but then it's also this piece of like, wow, this person's doing something amazing and they're really moving the needle. And that's harder for me to almost put a value on. The same as somebody says, hey, I saw you on the news last night. That was awesome. How do you say, oh, that was worth $2,000? Like, I can put an ad value on it, but it's the intangibles.
Wow. Yeah, wonderful answers, ladies, and perspectives. And goodness, I feel like we probably could have used a bit more time for this session. There's just so much knowledge that you're sharing, and I feel like the participants are just getting so much out of it. I am going to just keep my eye on that clock, and we do have a few just slides, and want to let the participants also know about upcoming WeBC events that are specific to marketing. So stay around for those. I've got some questions, so we'll dive into a few questions here. We have, someone has asked, what are your agency's thoughts on the top of emerging technologies, example, using AI, copy, image, and asset generation? Well, we wouldn't have a marketing fireside chat without this type of question coming forward. So I'm glad to see it here. Any perspectives?
I can start with that from a, AI with copywriting perspective. I truly see it as another tool in the tool belt. I think that it's important for everyone to stay on top of what different technologies are and understand them and find ways to work with them. You will know very quickly if your marketing agency is giving you a content calendar, social media copy that is drafted by AI. You can tell from just glancing at it. if somebody's going to use that as a tool in their toolkit, as you know, to brainstorm or whatnot, and thought starters, that's great, because it helps with efficiency, and it helps to bring in outside perspectives, the same way as when you're doing research on Google and Wikipedia to plug a question into an AI tool. It's another tool in your toolkit. But you'll know quickly if you're getting a piece of thought leadership or like an op-ed, an opinion editorial that's written by AI. It's clear as day.
Great, Victoria. Thank you. Any specific feedback to tag into Victoria's comment, Kira or Allison?
Go ahead, Kira.
I have a quick nerd alert announcement. So I completely agree with Victoria. It's a tool in the tool belt. People are really craving and missing authenticity online. So, you know, it's a tool more than, you know, a new copywriter or a replacement for humans. But something I would just be cautious of, if you don't necessarily have the budget and you do need to lean on AI for copywriting, be really aware of like, read it to yourself back, because people don't speak like that. And now with on social media, what they're starting to do is they're starting to flag accounts that sound too much like AI because it's bots. Like, it'll flag your account as a bot and you can actually get shut down. So it is something to just kind of be aware of, and like, definitely use it, but read it back and edit it in a way that you would say it, if that's how you need to like use it for the time being. Optimally, you know, you would have to organically create stuff, but not everyone has that. Not everyone has 52 hours in a day, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
great point.
these tools can be very helpful. But again, it takes a brand lens to utilize them. So you're not just going to type in language and expect ChatGPT to write with your brand voice. And if you are being true to your brand, then your brand should have a certain way of communicating out in the open. It's very similar to using Canva. So we work with some clients who have very limited capacity in their comms teams. And so some of the deliverables we might offer include things like Canva templates that are brand specific to their brand. That provides them the capacity to have brand sustainability after we've left them. And it is often free and easy to use. But the other part of what we do is we help train their team about the importance of staying on brand and the importance of creating a brand that is synthesized across writing and visuals and their visual identity. And so again, lean into the new technologies, but don't forget the authenticity of your brand, because that can't be replicated by a Canva, a bot, a ChatGPT.
Great answers, ladies. Wow, nice discussion around that, an important topic. Just in watching the time, I wanted to mention that we would probably have a few more minutes after we wrap up the slides and let all the attendees go that need to go to answer a couple more questions. I don't know if you ladies are maybe available to stay on. If not, we totally understand as well. I just wanted to put that invitation out there, since we've had so much to cover so far, and still a little bit more here. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up our Q&A for now, just to be aware of time and keeping our schedule. And I'm just going to go ahead here and here. We're going to go there. So thank you to our panelists. Really appreciate them sharing their expertise with us today. What a powerhouse group. I feel like we could have a second component even to this session today. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and be part of this fireside chat with WeBC, Victoria, Kira, and Allison. It's been a real pleasure. I wanted to mention just a couple more things here. We do have upcoming promotions. We have a wonderful selection of smart programs, on-demand learning here at WeBC. and personalized support. I encourage you to sign up to check out these courses. They're really quite amazing, and you can find them at we-bc.ca. Stay in the loop. And we also have the opportunity to win an amazing basket of goodies. If you're downloading one of these programs, you're signing up for one of these discussions or chats that we have happening. So we have how to identify a target market and prepare a customer profile, what are purchasing motivators and behaviors, 6 keys to common sense marketing, the 4 P's of marketing, how to get the right marketing mix, how to write an effective marketing plan, how to prove there is enough demand for your product. And as I mentioned, you'll automatically be entered to win this incredible self-care basket from Mint Cleaning, a value of $130. Download go.we-bc.ca/marketing tools. And I wanted to also mention we have other workshops coming up, unpacking artificial intelligence, which tags onto that last question, tips for using AI in your business. That's on June 13th. We also have June 19th, growing on social media, myths and tips from Mint Cleaning. And you can register for those events at we-bc.ca/events. And before we finish up, I wanted to mention that there will be a poll coming out, so please take the time to fill that out. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. And thank you all again for being part of this incredible panel today and participating. We wish you a lovely day, and thank you again for joining us. Be sure to sign up for our e-blasts from the we-bc.ca, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much for joining. I definitely had a blast. Thank you, Allison and Victoria, for indulging my need to yap about my job. I love hearing from fellow professionals, and this was so fun. Thank you, everyone.
I agree. Thanks so much. It was so great to meet you, Kira. Victoria and I have been on another panel, and I feel like we should go on the road together. It's so much fun. But really love hearing the questions, and being in your place and seeing everyone grow and thrive. So good luck to everyone, and reach out if you need help.
Thanks, everyone.
And we do have a couple extra questions if there's any of our panelists who have the opportunity to stay on and just continue a little bit more of a chat. I don't know, a couple extra minutes. We do have, what are areas of public relations? What would be the best to start for startups if trying to reach a local market? So that's one of the questions.
Yeah, I could try and answer that, but for local startups, I would say there's always, depending on what city you're on, but for the most part, there are great founder communities. So in Vancouver, there's a group called Vancouver Tech Journal. I know there's hubs in Kelowna or Prince George and whatnot for local founders. So I think being active in your network, and then making sure your channels, your website, your social media, and whatnot are in a good place. And if you're at a point that you're looking to make an announcement or do a fundraising round or whatnot, talking with a partner can help you to get the right tactics going, whether it's media relations or going with a bigger social strategy and whatnot. But they're kind of how we talked about the quick wins, making sure that you're doing that baseline work, and then other ways that you can take the work.
Hi, Victoria. Sorry, it's Cindy. I asked that question. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry, did you say what group was it? Your community?
Yeah, where are you?
I'm based out of Prince George.
Oh, I mean, Allison could probably speak greater to that of what the local groups are in Prince George, but I'm sure there's a local, you know, startup or tech or founders community.
Oh, founder. Okay, that's the word that I was looking for, a local founders community. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would start with the hub space, the chamber, community futures. I'm sure they could introduce you to certain groups. I know there's a LEAP conference here every year, so a women's business conference in the spring, I think it is every year. Maybe it's the fall. But certainly those organizations could help you get started.
Great questions. We do have another one here. Jesse asks, when would you recommend someone to work with an agency versus doing it themselves as a solopreneur?
I would recommend you considering it if you're overwhelmed, which I know isn't very helpful because of course you're overwhelmed, you're a solopreneur. But I would say think about the value of it to you, right? So for example, if you are, you know, so busy with fulfilling your projects that you feel like you're not bringing in any new customers and then it's kind of getting a little stagnant, that would be a really good time. So, you know, you should focus on your superpowers, which is your business, right? And then anything outside of that, you can outsource as long as you have, you know, the means to do so.
Yeah, I'm with Kira and I'm in comms and I brought on a social media coordinator probably within 5 months of starting Monogram as by myself. Just because I loved the work I was doing, but I also knew that I needed to continue to grow. And it's just such a breath of fresh air to have someone come in and be excited about the work that you're doing and do the work with you instead of having it feel like you're having to do it all.
And if I could comment that about Allison's, you can tell that there's a dedicated person doing it and they're doing a really good job. Because oftentimes, yeah, when you're trying to do everything off the side of your desk, and it's the same way that, you know, there, sure, as a small business, there are some things that you end up doing of, okay, am I accounting? Am I HR? Am I legal? But when you can bring in a partner, and of course it goes back to that budget piece and the right partner is going to be pretty transparent with you and say, you know, if you come in with a really minimal budget, they're going to say, this isn't the right time, come back to me in 6 months or another year and whatnot. But yeah, making that point, like you can tell there's somebody dedicated on Allison's team and they're doing an awesome job. And that, you know, not to speak for your business, Allison, but I'm sure that supports you in what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I think I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of women try to do it all. And I learned from an Olympian in some of our work with the Canada Games who said, you know, you can be a gold medalist in this and you can be an award-winning mom, but you cannot do it all at the same time. So get someone on board who's excited to work with you and it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, great. That feels like a really nice wrap up. I feel like just really extending the invitation and being able to connect with other women entrepreneurs and know what they're going through, wearing many hats and also encouraging them to focus on their businesses and know when they need help to be able to reach out when they're ready. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. I want to say thank you again, Victoria, Kira, and Allison for staying on a little bit later and answering those questions. There was just one more and it had to do with, do you know of any British Columbia databases that hold women-owned marketing agency lists? Like, is there a place where that type of thing can be found? I'm not familiar with one.
I'm just gonna say, I don't know, but I do have to hop off. I have another meeting I have to run to here, but thank you everyone. So happy to be here again. Connect with me on LinkedIn, creep my website, do whatever you need to do. Thank you ladies so much. And I love connecting with fellow women entrepreneurs and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
I don't know of any. Monogram is like 99% female as well. But I think WeBC would be the place to
Yeah.
have that information, probably.
I think so too. That's a good suggestion for sure. Yeah. But
And
are
I would
you
just say that the power of a network, and that if you're looking to work with somebody locally, people know people in different cities and markets. So, you know, if you send a note to someone, there's many businesses that are of the philosophy, there's enough business for all of us. So it's like, oh, if you want to work with somebody in, you know, the Kootenays, it's, you know, reach out to someone. Do you know anyone here that I could connect with? And everyone's connected and can make a recommendation.
Oh, great suggestion, Victoria. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, ladies. And thank you again to all of our participants and those of you who have stayed on to hear our answers from our panel here for these questions. Just have a wonderful day and looking forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.